I don't know how each of you got the job of covering the Senate, but I'm sorry. The bottom line is the first vote was taken at 11 o'clock. It's 4:20, and we've been sitting around, and for what reason? President Biden, in his inaugural address, said that he wanted to change the dynamic in Washington and define unity. And I think that was welcome news to most Americans, including me. This is one area where we've actually had unity. So on March the 5th, 96-1, 8 billion. March 18th, 2020, 90-8, 35 billion for COVID. March 25th, 2020, $1.9 trillion, 96-0, about a year ago. So as we knew more about COVID, the more we appropriated, and we did it together at every turn. If you told me that you could spend $355 billion by voice vote, I wouldn't have believed it. That's what we did in April of 2020. September of last year, $8 billion, 84-10, and December 21st, we approved working together $1.4 trillion. So what we've been able to do, working with Democrats and Republicans, is to appropriate $4 trillion in a bipartisan manner. Here's the question for the American people. What the hell happened? We had the House, they had the House, we had the Senate and the White House. Now they've got it all. So if they've chosen a partisan path, and the reason we're not doing it together now is they don't want to do it together. They've got a wish list that's unrelated to COVID that none of us are going to buy into, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But they see this as an opportunity to appropriate money for their liberal wish list using COVID as the reason. And that's why we're here. Now, why have we been waiting 4 hours and something for the next vote? There is some bipartisanship, we believe, to change the bill. But apparently that's an unpardonable sin on the other side. We believe we have some Democrats who read the bill yesterday and found some things they didn't like, sat down with some Republicans to find a better way, and the result is we've done nothing for 4 hours and 20 minutes to break somebody's political arm. To President Biden, is this the new way of doing business? There's nothing new about this. He's been on the phone trying to talk Democrats out of working with Republicans to change the unemployment insurance benefits, I think, in a reasonable way. What is this all about? The unemployment benefit plan they have in their partisan bill results in 68% of the people on unemployment making more unemployed than they did at work. And we think that's not right, and some Democrats, we believe, agree with us. We could save $128 billion if we went from $400 a month to $300 a month for unemployment benefits and phase it out a bit earlier as the economy is beginning to reopen. All of us can tell you that employers are having a hard time opening up their businesses because of finding labor. So there seems to be a bipartisan breakthrough on changing the unemployment benefit package that would save money and allow us to reopen the country quicker. That breakout of bipartisanship has resulted into the Senate coming to a halt because they want it their way or no way. We've been told that the Speaker of the House objects to this. So my main message here is that not only have we worked together and we've stopped for a wrong reason, we're spending $1.9 trillion and we haven't spent the money we appropriated in the past. So administrative actions, there's $200 billion left unspent. The legislative actions that resulted in Republicans and Democrats finding common ground to the tune of over 90 votes each time, there's $1 trillion yet to be spent. The Federal Reserve has money available to business, $5.9 trillion, $2.8 trillion has been spent. So our message is pretty simple. We found a way to make unemployment benefits more affordable and allow the business community to get back in business sooner. And Chuck Schumer has brought the whole thing to a stop. And I don't know what Joe Manchin has gone through for the last 4 hours and 20 minutes. But I want you to know that President Biden's inaugural speech rings hollow. Instead of trying to bring us together, he's on the phone making sure a couple of Democrats will not work with the Republicans. And that's so sad. But before Joe Biden got to be president, we worked together pretty damn well. And now we're at a standstill because a couple of Democrats are willing to work with us to change a bill they wrote last night. And what's in this bill that makes us all a little upset? $20 million for the preservation and maintenance of Native American languages. That may be a very good idea, but that's not helping anybody with COVID in South Carolina. $135 million for the National Endowment for the Arts. Maybe a good idea, but we should go through the appropriation process. $135 million for the National Endowment for the Humanities. $200 million for the Institute of Museum and Library Services. I'm sorry if it bothers people on the other side. We think we shouldn't take that up in a COVID crisis. So that's why we could not find common ground. Nobody asked for it. When we try to find it, people try to undo it. So that I'll turn it over to Senator Thune, who's been managing this bill. But to President Biden, your inaugural speech rings hollow, my friend. You could pick up the phone and end this right now by leading us to a compromise on unemployment insurance that makes sense for the American people and the American economy. I wish you would do it. Instead of trying to break apart bipartisanship, try to bring us together. That's my challenge.
Thank you, Lindsey.
More than COVID now, it's about an attitude. It makes everything President Biden said in his inaugural speech ring hollow to me. You ask him, have you been on the phone trying to talk Joe Manchin and others out of supporting a compromise? If a Republican, if we were doing this, you'd be all over us. We could walk 5 feet down the hall. Why are you trying to keep 2 Republicans from working with Democrats? Why have you put the Senate on hold for 5.5 hours because you won't let 2 Republicans work with a Democrat to do something they want to do? Well, the shoe's on the other foot. So my challenge to the American media, why are we waiting 5.5 hours? What the hell happened here? Have you ever asked a Democrat, why have you chosen a partisan path when Republicans were willing to work with you in the past? Recently, as December the 21st. We appropriated $1.9 trillion together, 96-0. Nobody asked any questions about what happened to the bipartisanship that existed December the 21st. Well, what happened is that they're in charge of everything. They put together a bill to seize the moment, as Roy said. There's stuff in here that's got zero to do with the COVID. Most of the money in here goes to something other than COVID. They've been able to take the power they obtained, and they're not using it consistent with the rhetoric of President Biden, I think are the hopes of the American people. And if President Biden's going to use his time to destroy bipartisanship, it's going to be a long 2 years here. So I wish somebody would call up the president and say, what's going on in the United States Senate? What is it about Joe Manchin and maybe 1 or 2 others working with Republicans that makes you want to stop the entire process for 5.5 hours? That would be my challenge.
Just to be clear, there is more than one Democrat that is the president.
Well, under this, the way these 2 have been treated, I'd hate to be the one that said, yeah, I'm interested.
I believe you mentioned that Speaker Pelosi was not happy with this. Are you suggesting that the Democrats are afraid of changing this too much and that it wouldn't happen?
I'm telling you, 5.5 hours, something's up.
And then can you also tell us, there's a report about one of your colleagues having to leave Washington, Senator Sullivan. How might that impact the amendment?
Well, I'll let Senator Sullivan's people speak about that. But the point is that we're here 5.5 hours over an amendment that we know to be bipartisan, and the goal is to talk Democrats out of working with Republicans. That's the headline.
Senator Thune, how confident are you that you're going to have 50 Republican votes for the Portman Amendment